It turns out, according to a new poll, Obamacare is now more popular than it was when Donald Trump took office. Now, this is very, very interesting. There's a new Politico morning consult poll that was released earlier today that found that voters are now evenly split on approval of the ACA, also known as Obamacare, because it is the same thing. Now, I should not have to point that out, but as I've talked about before, there were Republicans that ran an amazing campaign, a misinformation campaign, that is, that made a lot of people think that Obamacare and the ACA were two different things. Turns out they are not. And people are just continuing to find this out. Now, the poll found that approval for Obamacare is split 45-45. Obviously, 45 disapproval, 45 disapproval. Now, that turns out to be an actual increase in support of the law. Well, that's fascinating. According to a survey in early January before Trump took office, only 41% of voters approved of Obamacare and 52% disapproved. So let's break that down a little bit further. Now, the new poll also finds that 12% of respondents want the Trump administration to keep the law in place as it is. Now, if you would ask certain progressives and certain Republicans, they would say the same thing, right? Let's not keep it as is. Let's keep it. Let's change it. Let's either expand it or take away certain things. Basically, only 12% though of Americans polled said no, leave it alone. That's actually the smallest minority in this, because even progressives and Republicans, of course, say that there are issues. Now, there are some other things here. Now, when it comes to repeal, only 24% want it gone completely. However, 27% want the administration to repeal only parts of the law, likely the more unpopular parts like the individual mandate and the tax penalty for not getting insurance. Now, as I pointed out before, those things, they are unpopular because they do suck. However, they're kind of necessary to make sure the whole thing actually works. You need those healthy people contributing to that system to support the sick people, or else the whole thing just kind of falls. It implodes. It falls in on itself. Not good. Now, 26% want to expand the existing law. Now, I count myself among that camp. I believe that we should get a public option. We should work for it and try to get this public option implemented, and then gradually move to a single-payer system to essentially replace the system of for-profit healthcare, and then end up relegating insurance companies to supplemental plans. I'm okay with that. Full Medicare for all, and yeah, the insurance companies are still there, and they offer the extras, the perks that you're supposed to get, that you want to pay for. I'm okay with that. Now, from this poll, it does seem that more Americans actually want to fix the law. It's just that we're not sure how, whether it be expanding it or eliminating certain provisions. There are a lot of Americans, a plurality, that say, let's do something. We don't want to keep it as is, and we don't want to eliminate it. We want to do something about it. We want to fix something. So now, what does the Trump administration plan to do? Well, last weekend, Trump touted his plan to replace Obamacare and said that it would come in a couple of weeks. So just be patient. We'll roll out a plan soon. It'll be great. Bigly. Actually, in Florida, he said, just so you understand, our plan will be much better healthcare at a much lower cost. Okay? Nothing to complain about. Nothing to complain about, huh? Well, except for, I don't know, the lack of specifics. I mean, how are you going to actually do that? It's one thing to say that my healthcare plan is going to be cheaper and it's going to serve more people. It's going to be better. Another thing to explain how you're actually going to do that. Do you have some fucking magic sparkle dust that you plan on using? Perhaps, I don't know, magic wand. Cheap healthcare. Cheap healthcare. Bush reference. Cheap gas. That's what they're doing. The Republican plan is essentially bullshit and fairy dust. You know what their main ideas are? Tax cuts and health savings accounts. Those two things, sure, I guess they're decent if you're a rich person. In fact, they're great if you're a rich person because that helps you. Block granting Medicaid to the states, however, will force the states to cut the poorest people off the rolls because those block grants happen to be static and not flexible like how we fund Medicaid now. So the current plans that they have, tax cuts and health savings accounts, both beneficial for rich people, not so beneficial for poor people. And by the way, we're going to cut off more poor people. So that's what we have. They've also hinted at eliminating the subsidies for health insurance so that millionaires and billionaires, the 400 richest households in America, will save an average of $7 million a year in taxes. That $7 million a year goes to funding the healthcare subsidies for regular people who can't afford insurance. So you get rid of that, you're going to cut off even more people to insurance. And if they're going to go with these, insurance is not going to be any cheaper. It's not going to be any better. What it's going to do is it's going to cover less people at a higher cost. And if you still force people, like their plan is doing, to get insurance, because they haven't gotten rid of the individual mandate yet, oh boy. Oh, and if they're going to, force insurance companies to allow people to keep their kids up to their until they get to 26 on their health insurance plans and cover people with pre-existing conditions, well, again, that's going to make all these insurance companies pull out because then they're not going to be making enough money. So there's that. The Republican Party has essentially painted itself into an ideological corner. There's really nowhere to go policy-wise but unpopular bullshit ideas. It's not like we haven't tried health savings accounts. They have been tried, and they've been an absolute dismal failure. And you know why they're in a corner? It's because we're already using their actual healthcare policy, which ironically, as you can see from the polls, still fairly unpopular and has a few bullshit ideas in it. Way to go. I can't actually wait until the day that we use a progressive healthcare system. You know what happened? You know what would happen? It would end up being incredibly popular. Just like the other progressive plans that we have. Medicare and Social Security. Progressive ideas. They're popular and they actually work. Maybe we should start doing those here. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.